Well, hello everybody, welcome to Friday. Today we have Linda Dahl. Linda Dahl is a brand ambassador. Linda is in San Diego. Probably 2 or 3 years ago, it seems like it was just months ago, but it was 2 or 3 years ago when COVID started. Linda did an In the Artist studio with me. So if you want to see an awesome studio, and she actually did a tour around her whole house and showed her paintings and everything. So you might want to go back to the archives and watch that. It was absolutely wonderful. I've met Linda many times, and she's just a phenomenal artist. I think you're going to see, as she says, a different way of coming at painting. Linda has a sore throat today, so she's going to answer questions. But if you'd be so kind, at some point, if her throat just hurts too much, she may stop doing that. On Facebook right now, I can't see it. I'm in a hotel room on my iPad, so I can watch Zoom or Facebook. Because I want to be with Linda live, I'm going to do Zoom. So I'm going to ask Anna, Ethel, Gabriel, Giovanni, Letiza, and others if they would bring over the questions from Facebook. And with that, I'd like to welcome you, Linda. It's fantastic to see you again.
Oh, John, it's so good to see you again. I wish I was up in San Pedro with you.
I wish you were too.
Another time.
Another time, yes. So you're just getting back from Italy?
A whole month in Italy, yes.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic.
In Venice, all in Venice. And we went, 5 artists went, rented an apartment, and we did the Biennale, all the different venues. And it was very enlightening and very exciting.
Wow, that is absolutely wonderful. Did you get a lot of painting in?
I only did some sketching in Italy. I didn't do, and I'm going to show you some sketchbooks. They're more of a journal, the Italy one. It's all the notes, it's where we ate, it's what I had for dinner, and then some sketches, yes. So awesome. I'm anxious to do some of the paintings, yes.
Okay, so Linda will be answering questions, and I think we'll start, if Ethel has them ready, with the PowerPoint.
Yeah. I'm going to share it.
Excellent.
Here we go. So just making sure that everybody gets to connect with you, Linda, via Facebook. This is Linda's account. She also has an Instagram account. And more importantly, for more content, follow or visit Linda's website. Linda, the next couple of slides will be your sample artworks, and it's good. We'd appreciate if you could share a line or two about each of these. We start with this one.
I have always enjoyed drawing and painting figures. In school, I was taught never to paint 2, always to paint 3 or 5. And my question was, 2 are a couple, 3 is a crowd. And so I decided that was one rule I was going to break, because the relationship between 2 people is very, very precious to me, especially family members. And so I love to show a father and a daughter. I love to show when my mom was 80 years old and got married, I showed her flirting with her husband. I just love people. I love body language. I also love white clothing. So that's really what has driven most of these paintings. And in this one, I really kept it pretty simple. Most of the white clothing is done in this Grisaille stage, which I'll show you today. And then a little flesh and hat and a little background was put in. It's a pretty simple painting, but I think it speaks volumes. I was in Ireland, and some friends of mine were waiting for the ferry, and I just loved the body language that they had. I loved the striped pants and the backpack. And again, I love the white clothing. I actually think his pants were black, but I didn't want black pants in my paintings, so they ended up white. This is friends who were in Italy with me. I was down in Puerto Vallarta, and they were trying to figure out something on their iPhone, and they stood there for quite a while. And I actually did this one from a photograph. But I took many, many photographs to get the body language exactly the way I wanted. Again, the white clothing is important to me. This is one of my son's friends, and we were at a picnic. I actually did this sketch on location of him at the picnic. There's a ton of people around him, not just one person, but I just isolated and sketched him. I had some real issues the past 3 years. I had 2 kidney surgeries and I had a cancer surgery, and I was bedridden for quite a bit of the last 3 years. And I decided I could not give up painting. And so sitting in bed on these 12-inch or 10-inch sheets of paper, I decided I was going to do lots of drawings and then add watercolor to them sitting in bed. And I just wanted to show you that where there's a will, there's a way. And that just because you can't go into the studio doesn't mean you have to stop painting. I am a Zentangle instructor. I am a certified Zentangle instructor, so I understand the Zentangle patterns. I also understand drawing. I've been drawing my whole life. And I just kind of gave an impression of San Diego in the background and then just did doodles and scribbles and fun designs all over it. And I don't remember now the words, but those letters all spell something. I don't know what it was, but I love doing these, and they really kept me mentally uplifted the whole time I was going through some of these issues. By the way, I am now cancer-free totally, so I'm very happy. I just turned 80, cancer-free, and ready to start painting again. Next. Again, these are some of the ones I did sitting in bed and enjoying the pen, the pen and ink, and these are all Micron pens that I use if you're interested. And then there are the watercolors, my regular watercolor palette that I added. Next. Another San Diego one. But look at all those designs. I just love playing with designs. Whoops, go ahead. Another one, this time in yellows. I was playing with different colors and different hues and some different pigments that I had not used before. And I have a new, I'll show you a new palette. It's a Daniel Smith, a travel palette, and it has all different colors that I've never tried before. And so I was trying some of these new colors, and this was a good way to experiment with new pigment.
That's the last image.
Wow. That was very, very interesting. So then I have a question for you, and I know you explained this to me before, but in many of the paintings I've seen of yours, the subject is always facing away from me. Can you just briefly tell people what that is?
Definitely. I find that the face is too important in magazines, in the TV. Everything is emphasis on the face. And I think the face can lie. I think the body language can't. And I think the body language is very identifiable. And if you see your husband or wife or friend a block away, you can tell who they are by their body language, not because you can see their face. And I think we have too much emphasis on the face. And I love the emphasis on what the body is telling us through the body language.
Awesome. Awesome. Would you like to start, Linda?
Sure. Now let's see, we have to figure this one out. So
we've enabled the share screen.
Okay. And I'm gonna go, we went through this, I know. Mm-hmm. Share content or share screen? Screen, okay. Yes. Start broadcast, okay.
Oh, they're cute.
Oh, my grandbabies. Camera, reverse it. Go to 5. Are you now seeing a white piece of paper?
We are.
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you. Sketching. One of the things I can't start a demo with is not talking about sketching. I sketch all the time. I sketch from TV, I sketch from life. I go out with urban sketches. This book got ripped, the cover got ripped off, but this is one of the books that I particularly like. It's made from one sheet of watercolor paper. And actually, if I think about it, or if you remind me, I'll post how you make this. But this actually is one full sheet of watercolor paper, folded in such a way that it makes a wonderful book. And it's a nice, inexpensive way to have 140-pound watercolor paper, have good paper to work on. And you can see these were just sketches. This is often in my purse, a book like this. And no matter where I am, I can just do a quick sketch. I have
Brilliant
for
idea.
years.
I love that idea.
Brilliant
Oh,
idea.
yeah. And I
Please
will.
share it, Linda, as soon as possible. I want to see this one. You already shown us, but I forgot how you do that. It's amazing thing.
Okay, John, I will do a drawing of it or take a photo of it and show you. There's just 3 cuts in the watercolor paper. You just fold it a certain way. It's very easy, and you have your own book. And then I take acrylic paint and just paint the cover, the back cover and the front cover.
Fantastic.
I sketch constantly. If you want to know where my paintings come from, they come from my sketchbooks. That's just the way it is. I am not a spontaneous painter who picks up a piece of paper and starts painting. I do lots of work. I go out on location. I sit at the beach. I sit at Balboa Park, and just wait for people to come by. And I just do literally hundreds of sketches. I mean, I've got bookcases full of sketches, and there might be some other stuff in here. Might just be the sugar container. Maybe, who knows what I was doing that day. Sometimes I add color, sometimes I add gray pen, but I'm constantly sketching.
Very nice.
This is one from 2-3 years ago. And let's get to where, I think that's Besnick, actually. And this is a trip. See how I put other stuff in? The money conversion, no matter what it is, I put it in my sketchbook. And so do I always do figures? No, I do landscape. I do a lot of figures. Again, sometimes I'll add color right to the sketchbook. Sometimes it's boats. Sometimes it's buildings and smaller people. It's just anything that I feel like drawing happening. This is this is 2 years ago sketchbook in Italy.
Wow.
This sketchbook, and I think it's important to show you this because people think I just whip out these drawings and paintings, and there's a lot of work that goes in to some of these in the sketchbook.
We
I'm
have
just
a
happy-
follow-up question on Facebook about your sketching, wondering how long
Yes.
each one takes. About how much time do you invest in this for a sketch? Thank you.
These are on location in San Miguel de Allende, and they probably took me an hour. So people think I only know how to draw people. I really do know how to draw lots of things and have drawn lots of things. But yes, I do love to do people, and that is when I'm painting, my love of painting. Let's see if we have.
Linda,
Yes.
with your pictures with people at the seaside and things like that, are you influenced by the posters and adverts that used to be around in the 1930s, 1940s? Have you ever seen any of those kind of things?
Not that I know of, but I see a lot of things and don't remember. So I'm not sure.
It's well worth you looking up that, because
And And who did you say I should see? I missed it.
It's not a person. It's a type of
Yeah.
artwork. Look up 1930s, for example, British holiday posters.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
one, and 1940s for that matter.
I'll tell you a funny story. And the reason I said I don't know if I've seen it, because years ago I did a painting and I showed it to a friend and she said, "Oh, you've been studying Will Barnett." And I said, "Who's Will Barnett?" And so she said, "Oh, come on." And I looked him up, and I had done a paint. As a young child in the Brooklyn Museum, I took drawing classes. I mean, I was like 6 years old sitting, and I didn't realize at the time it was with Will Barnett. And I had seen all his paintings. Well, 50 years later, a painting came back in my head when I saw my sister sitting at a telephone, and I did a painting, and by God, I would have sworn I copied Will Barnett's painting, and yet I had not consciously seen that painting, but it was in my subconscious. So it is amazing the things that we remember visually as artists.
Yeah, we underestimate our brain. I think that's called ambient learning.
So thank you, yes.
Yeah.
One of the things I will do sometimes is use a grid. I don't like to use projectors. I don't have projectors in Turkey. I don't have, hello? Are you there?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh,
I was
okay.
just,
Okay, I can put this on top of this, and my watercolor paper is on a board that has the same grid on the back side. And if I put this on a light table, I can see the grid right through the watercolor paper, and I can very quickly get this proportioned, get the head exactly where I want it, get the space I want here by simply just going in and drawing rectangle by rectangle, and I end up with a perfect drawing of this quickly and easily.
that's neat.
You know, and these, by the way, I don't print them anymore. I used to print them and give them out to students. Now, if you email me, I would send you the files that you can take to Kinko's and have them made, if anybody's interested, and the directions.
What exact paper do you use?
140-pound rough watercolor paper.
Right. Is there a particular reason why you use raw?
It's more forgiving, I think.
Yeah, you can work it a lot better, a lot more than the others.
And I also really like, I like to see some of the texture through the paint. A lot of my paint is pretty thin, and I like that modeling that the rough paper has. So this sketchbook is a sketchbook that I was able to get online, and it is 140-pound Arches paper or 140-pound Fabriano paper. They have both. I think this is the Arches. And I really like working in a sketchbook that has good paper. And again, yes, I did this figure on location. I did this whole thing on location. Again, just kind of fun. Just going out with some sassy sketchers. We have a little group that we go out with. And then this is what I'm going to be working on today. Okay, now, let me get up 1 second.
Linda, you have many regards
Yes.
from many of my students that you met here when you had workshop in Kosovo, in my university.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
They
So,
really miss you, and they say they met the best ever professor.
Oh, thank you. So what I have here is a whole stack of papers. When I have a day, I do, possibly 10, 15 washes, and I'm going to show them all to you in a minute. And then I do my drawing on tracing paper. I don't always draw directly onto the watercolor paper because I find I can be more creative putting my drawing on top of washes that were done that had nothing to do with the subject. And it depends on the mood I'm in that day. It depends on the story I'm trying to tell that day. What I like is to be able to move it, and I might even reverse it. If I like the fact that this gives more light on the hat, I might reverse the drawing. And so this is a more somber, more gray day. Wherever there are lines or marks that are in the wash, that's probably where the ocean will be, or it'll probably be where the backlit buildings will be. I kind of let these pieces of paper talk to me. And I love having a stack of them. And a lot of times when I go out on location to paint, I will bring a couple of these washes with me and start right on one of the washes rather than doing the wash, waiting for it to dry, and then the boat has sailed away. So I love, and I do all colors. I try not to have any of them be the same color. And I try not to have, let there be an up or a down. So in this particular one, I love the way that light is up on her hat. And I like the brown coming through or the orange coming through here. Again, can you see this would make several different paintings, totally different stories, simply by the colors that are chosen. And then I tend to use a lot of the same color. I like that blue up there. That would be a gorgeous sky. And so that would be another painting. And this may end up being green grass. It may not be on the beach, or if it is, it may still be on grass. Again, another one. And another one. And again, which way is up? I have no idea. And I don't know. Ooh, I like that. I like the light on that hat up there. So those are the things that I start to look for. This one just happens to be a horizontal one. So the first thing I'm going to do is do a wash. And nope, I'm going to talk about colors first and materials. This is my palette, all Daniel Smith paints. I particularly like Daniel Smith paints because I like to work with dry pigment. I don't spray these or wet these before I work. And Daniel Smith paints reconstitute very, very quickly. I have no trouble working with them at all dry. And when I travel, it's much easier to travel with a dry palette. I said earlier that I had another new palette. This is the Daniel Smith travel set. And there's a lot of colors in here that I had not painted with. And so I was using a lot of those in those Zentangle watercolors that I was doing. But this is a beautiful set full of lots of color. And it comes with the chart of what colors are what. But today I'm going to be using this one. For brushes, I really love the Escoda brushes. These are two of my favorite brushes. I really like the, I don't know where my 8 is. I have an 8, 10, and a 12, and they're just really, really fun for me. To do my drawings, I use a mechanical pencil, a 0.9. Why? Just because I like it. And for any kinds of line work, I use an architect's ruling pen, and I deliberately put something in the painting today that I'll have to use the ruling pen on just for you to see it.
The second time this week we've had an architectural ruling pen.
I just think they're wonderful. They're wonderful. They really are. I don't know. This is just the back of a painting. But if I take my pigment can you see my palette? Can you see? There we go.
Someone were asking yesterday about this, whether you can actually use one of those to paint with
right.
it. So this is good.
I love this. So come on. I need it bigger. All my students have all gone and bought ruling pens in there, except for Amazon. I don't even know where you can find them anymore.
A good quality art shop should provide something like that.
Yeah, but I don't want an expensive one. I just want a cheap one.
Oh no, you shouldn't be paying more than $3 or $4 for one.
Right.
Oh, lovely.
Do you see those lines that I'm able to draw?
Mhm.
I mean, that's a lot of drawing with
It's a
just that
confident.
little bit of pig. Huh?
Confident lines.
Yeah, I love it. It's really, to me, it's a great tool to use. Okay, so I need to stand up. It's very hard for me to paint sitting down. The other brush I really like, and where did it just go to? Oh, here it is. It's just a Da Vinci, I don't know what it's called. It's just a Amazon again. And I'm gonna wet this sheet of paper. How are we doing on time? I need to watch. Wow. All right, let's hurry.
Linda, I'm
Yes.
very interested in what you use to segment your palette for those yellows and such that you have on the right side of your palette. What is that? You knew somebody was going to ask, you know.
I forgot about that. They're beading trays. Beaders store their beads in that. All right, let me just 1 second. I want to make this wash as close to another wash that I'm going to show you as possible. All right, so let's take some yellow. I really want you to see my palette. So let me make sure I move this over, because this nice big wide brush, what I like about this palette is I'm going to go across 3 colors at once. And then I'm going to lay it down, and the colors are going to start mixing on the paper. And then I'm going to take maybe 3 reds. Well, I sure didn't go where I was wanting to go, but that's perfectly fine. It'll make a great wash. It just won't be just like the one I'm going to work on. And this is why I love the rough paper. I don't know that you can see it, but can you see the granulation starting to happen in some of those areas? I really like that a lot. And did you notice that I had no trouble just putting my brush across the pigments and picking up with just a wet brush, where other brands that I've used, I have to scrub to get the pigment. That's a hint for you, John. I love it.
Yeah,
Or that's
the
a
beauty
compliment
of
for
Daniel
you.
Smith color.
Yeah, it's for me. That's why I prefer. This is a little white in here, so I'm just gonna. Yep. And I like that white that happened to get left. Sometimes you'll see white in the sky and you'll wonder how I got white there. Well, I just didn't paint it when I first started to paint. I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to put it aside. And that will dry a little lighter, by the way, because I use so much water. My pigments will lighten a little bit. And that's okay. I plan that and I know that. So here's a wash that's already done and a drawing is on it. And it's the same drawing I showed you earlier. I just put this on a light table and I traced it right through onto this wash. Everybody with me?
Yes, we are.
Hopefully. All right. I know this is a very different way to work. I was an oil painter for many years and I was taught a Grisaille method, which is a study in grays. And that's when I found out how much I loved the white clothing. And so I try to leave as much white clothing as possible. And my white clothing comes from me mixing all my colors and putting it on, and you're going to think it's white clothing. And that's just how I do it. So it's somewhere in the question, it asked me, did I have 3 or did I have base colors? And I definitely have base colors, to the point that in my palette, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a black dot there, there, and there to remind me when I'm doing this Grisaille, I want to use those primarily because they're very transparent and they're very staining. And that's a quality I happen to like. The last demo I did in Turkey, you can see that on YouTube as well. I did the Grisaille first and then I did the wash. Today, the wash is first and then the Grisaille is second. So I'm going to take this blue and some yellow. Can you see the palette? Yes. And I'm going to take my red and some orange and some, let's get some purple in here. All I'm doing is mixing a lot of colors out into this area so I have them ready to pick up as I go. And I take the inside of a roll of toilet paper and I squeeze it down and I take the cardboard out and then I take the tissue out. But it's also a really good height to do this Grisaille, this application of paint, because I really need the water to run down. I don't want it to run back up into the washes. And let's see, I'll start with my number 10. More water, there we go. And now we'll pick up some purple. And now we'll pick up some blue. And a little bluer, greener, whatever. Go back to some yellow. Go back to some purple. To me, this is just fun. I'm a child when I'm playing this. This is when I get to just see what happens when colors mix together. And I get to see what happens when I introduce a new color.
Linda?
Yes.
You know, when you were talking about Grisaille as a part of oil painting,
Yeah.
do you are you familiar with the term dead layer?
No.
No. It's kind of the first early forming of your grey values in the Grisaille that you're doing.
So
Is
yeah,
that what-
basically what I'm doing is I'm just doing a value study. I'm leaving
Yeah.
everything I want light. I'm putting in color where I want shade and shadow to be. I'm just kind of, but I like this to be constantly changing. I don't want just a gray. I guess a true Grisaille would be gray, But to me, these tones are grayish once they dry, and they're everything I want.
Well, it's that contrast between warm and cool, and that gives it interest.
Yeah, no, I like I said, I just love the way color mixes. And you can see why I had to raise the board up, because if I need to stop and talk, I just put a line like that holds the bead of water so that it doesn't start to dry, and then I can just continue it down if I have to.
Thank you. Is your palette influenced by this particular technique?
Oh, absolutely. On the website, John has my palette, and he has my new palette, which I added. I used to have more reds, and since I've been doing some plein air work, I added some more blues and greens where the reds used to go further up. But they are all staying colors, and the number next to the color on the palette that I sent is the stain quality. I mean, I don't want anything that's not staining. And I'm one of the few artists that just absolutely love staining colors. But I do.
Well, for what you're doing, it makes absolute sense, that, doesn't it?
For me, it does, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if I were not doing a demo, I would be doing this much, much slower. I'm losing a little bit of edge control because I'm going so fast. But it's more important that I get this, that I show you the technique, than that this makes a perfect painting. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Oh, don't ever say that. Just say it's what do they call it? Loosening up. You're not losing control, you're loosening up.
Well, no, I am a control freak, and I like, I mean, if I were really doing this, I would be coming in here very slowly. I would be really doing every line, every jut in and out. I would be doing it a little slower, and I just don't have that luxury right now. And I'm not apologizing for it. I'm just saying that as a teacher, there's sometimes when the students are more important than the painting itself. But I often get a really good demo. Don't get me wrong. I'm not wanting to throw this away by any means. It's just I'll have to go in with a little scrubber, and I'll have to refine some of the edges later that I wouldn't have to do if I went slower. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. In your style that you're using, do you consider yourself to be an illustrator?
I don't know. If people want to call them illustrations, that's okay. Don't bother me. It's just what I enjoy doing and what I like doing and what I do. I'm not a California watercolorist that does everything wet into wet. I'm a graphic person, and yeah, if you want to call it an illustration.
Tell that in your work, and if that's what you do and you're good at it, great. How many layers would you normally do in a full painting before you thought, right, no more?
10.
10, yeah.
Yeah, I don't mean 10 all over everything, but 10 over different parts of it. Yeah, and you'll see that hopefully. Let's see how we're doing on time. What are we? 11:30 is our cutoff, John?
About 20 minutes, but we can go a little bit over, Linda. That's fine.
Well, I'll try to.
Do you like your pencil sketch to show through?
I do. I do. And I can remember one time Watercolor West telling me that even though the jury had accepted my work, they wouldn't take it because I had too much pencil.
Oh, wow.
And I just laughed. Rex Branch always had pencil sketches showing, and I really like that.
Wow. That's snobbery, really.
You know, everybody's got their own opinion of what art is, and I'm just not sure anybody's. I think it's whatever you think it is. And for me, this is art, and it's my art, and it's who I am and what I do.
Absolutely. I appreciate that.
You're doing very nice, Linda.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
You're doing very
Tell me-
nice. I said you're doing very nice.
Oh, thank you. My ears are a little stopped up, and even though I have earplugs in, earphones in, I'm still having trouble hearing. I didn't hear that either.
Will that dry lighter?
Yes, a little, not much. And you're going to be very surprised when you go back and look at some of my other paintings, how this is actually going to be all my white clothing. I mean, I am literally now painting all my white clothing.
So how do you make it white?
Well,
That's the
because
game.
white in shade and shadow is not white. It's got every color in it. And I'll have to take that out later. I'm not going to worry about that now.
Our brain's got a really good trick of making us think that things are white, and that very rarely are.
Exactly. Most people think that there is white paper showing in my paintings, and there's very, very little actually.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to perceive it as white clothing because she's going to push the values even darker. So we'll see it in relationship to the darkest values, and it will glow.
Right. Hopefully.
I think your image off to the left hand side is not in picture. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to move your palette.
So what I do, I'll come into the studio and I might do 5 washes or 4 washes. And then the next day when they're dry, I will put 4 drawings on. And then the next day I'll come in and 2 of them, I'll add this stage to the drawing. And then the next day I'll come back. I usually let everything dry totally. But at this point, I either like what's happening on this page or I don't. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now.
At this stage, are you ever tempted to use an hairdryer to dry the?
Yes, I would use a hairdryer, except we're online and it's really hard to use a hairdryer. So what I just did was I have this little fan on my desk, and I put this little fan on, and it's not near as noisy, and it tends to dry it pretty quickly, I hope.
So Linda, we can't hear the hairdryer if you turn it on. Zoom will actually cancel that. We won't be able to hear it.
It has noise limiters on this program.
Huh. Imagine that.
They did it just for us.
All right, just a second. Let me plug this in. Sorry.
That's
How do you
part of
do
the painting.
tracings? How do you do tracings without having pencil on the back of the tracing so that we can actually see the figures that you traced? How do you get it back down onto?
Okay, if I take a piece of watercolor paper and I put it behind the watercolor paper and I put it on a light table or up to the window, you can see the drawing and you can just trace it right through.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, we've had a great damp day here. San Diego never has that, but we do today. So I do need to use the hairdryer for just a second.
It's such a good picture that your application is actually identifying your head as an head.
Yeah, look at the value of my hand and the, so it's about the value of my hand, right?
The
know
man's
what?
head is being locked onto sometimes. With a little,
Okay, so what I'm
little
gonna
yellow.
do instead of waiting, instead of using the hairdryer too long, one of the parts I want to show you for sure is how I push things back. And so I'm going to take some clear water and I'm going to take a little bit of, let's see, a little bit of blue. Whoop, way too dark. I just want a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to come in behind her hat. And then I'm going to take clear water and I'm going to wash it away. And can you see that now you think that is, well, it is a lighter value,
Yes.
but you almost think you see white.
Yes, you're right.
And let's put it right here. I mean, this is an important part of my painting. So while we're waiting for it to dry, I'll work on this section of it. And then I'm going to come in behind his shoulder. And that's why I love these Escoda brushes. They're really soft and they really do this very well.
On the subject of brushes,
Yes.
do you use scrubbing brushes to get rid of any stubborn stains?
Yes. I have a little one. I have a small scrubbing brush that's made by Rosemary. That is very, if I really wanted to get in and if I had to get rid of something, this is what I would use. And it's called a scrubber and it's Rosemary brushes. Okay, so now I'm going to come in and take some, maybe yellow. Too bright. And actually, if I lose color, like right here, you see how this kind of got a little lighter than I want? I'll go back in when that's dry and add a little bit more color there. So when you ask me about layers and how many layers, wow, I can keep, I mean, I go quite a bit.
For your main thing, your key thing in your painting, what would be the minimum amount of layers that you put in it?
1, 2, 3, probably 5.
Right.
And that's why that's why my paintings can't be done in an hour, because they're not something that happens instantly. And I really, if I were doing this myself, I would let this dry overnight before I would paint back into it. I would not paint into it right now. But I'm trying to, like I said, I'm trying to, whoops, let me use the hair dryer just one more time. I didn't mean to get that purple there. But can you see the difference? It's subtle. I don't know if you can see it on the camera between there and there, between here and here, and between here and here. I need a little more up here.
Linda,
So I do a lot of, let me at least try to dry the skirt because I want to use the ruling pen. What I'm going to do now may end up picking up some of the paint under it. And if it does, I will actually take this whole piece and take it outside to the hose and hose the whole thing off, and it will come right back to the stage. That's one of the reasons I love the stain colors. So if it starts to get muddy, and it gets muddy when the paper is wet and you try to put another color on top, they often blend, not lay on top like a piece of plastic. And I like it to lay on top. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it even though we're still wet. We're running out of time. And I want you to see some of this start to happen.
so sometimes do you ever encourage cauliflowers in?
No, I hate them. Well,
Right.
no, I take that back. I love in the sky, I do.
Right.
So over here, the wash I did this morning, there's some stuff happening up here that I could not have planned, and I love what's happening in that area. So I don't mind it in the sky, but not in the clothing.
It's more about the flat wash for you then, is it?
Definitely about the flat wash.
Yeah.
And definitely wash on top of wash with the glazing rather than mixing.
Right. Have you ever used gouache at all?
Yeah, I don't really like it. So do you see, I just got that yellow there. I'm just gonna wet it and blot it up. It'll be fine. Sometimes there's some of my palettes have a touch of white. Sometimes if I really want a more opaque, then I will add some white watercolor rather than gouache.
Right.
And this wash, I don't know where it went, disappeared on me. Anyway, sometimes in the wash stage, I'll actually add some white to give it a more opaque look if I choose, because I don't think I have any transparent lifting colors on my palette. I think everything's at least a number 3. And I come in lightly at first, and then I often will come back. So I don't know if this is the correct value yet. And I don't worry about it being perfect. I just am building my values slowly and leaving as many areas as I can. So let's take a little bit of a New Gamboge or something like that. I don't know. I don't know the names of my colors. I just know they're here and I know where to reach for them.
Linda,
Yes.
with, you know, about atmospheric perspective and how things far away have less color value and all that kind of thing. Is it a similar principle with?
No,
Uh,
no, I break that rule all the time. It's not a rule that I choose to pay attention to. And the reason is that I believe the eye can only look at one thing at a time. You can either look at the foreground or you can look at the background. And if you look at the foreground, everything in the background is softer and softer edge. But if you look at the background, then everything in the foreground is actually softer. So I really believe the eye knows more than that rule that they taught us in school.
So do you believe that everything within the boundaries of the image is the focal point?
Sometimes I make the focal point be the distance, but when I have two people, I usually have one of them in a little bit more focus than the other. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, kind of. What I was thinking
Okay.
about in the background, how many layers would you put in the background in comparison to the focal point?
Well,
Similar
I
or
probably will come in here and I probably will we'll do the first layer and I'll decide if it's dark enough or not. I mean, I keep putting them on the easel and looking at them and they tell me when it needs another layer. You know, it's not a formula. It's not something that I do. I just know that right now that's not going to be the attention, that they'll be darker here. But if I really want you to look way out at those sailboats, because I was actually thinking putting a logo on his back with a sailboat. And if I want the relationship to be the man and his sailboat t-shirt and the sailboats out there, then I would darken this quite a bit.
yeah, I can see
That
how
makes sense?
I'm very much drawn to that little pinnacle that you put on the water there.
Yeah. And sometimes it's all I want. I want you to see what they're seeing and where they're going. Yes.
That tells a story.
Okay, let's see. Where did my ruling pen go? Because this is so bright up there and it's a beautiful blue, I think her stripes on her skirt are going to be blue. And I may do it with a brush or I may do it with an architect's ruling pen. But I really wanted to show you the pen, so let's see if I can. Sorry, I need to turn the board.
So with this pen work, do you use an hatching technique to create the value?
I'm sorry, do I use a what technique?
A hatching technique.
No, I don't, but you could.
Or do you make the stripes closer together if you want them to be darker?
These were, no, these are just going to be, light, they're just going to be thin stripes on her skirt. Just what you see what's happening now. But it makes it so much easier to use a ruling pen than to use a little one-haired brush. Okay, so I'm running out of time. I'm definitely out of time. Let me just, let me take that same blue. And I really need to get to dark eventually, somewhere in this piece. I don't know what's going to be dark yet. I kind of let the painting talk to me and tell me what it needs. So I'm starting out with a kind of a softer blue-green. It may end up a really dark blue-green later. I won't know that until I've got color everywhere I need color. And then I'll decide what the next layer will be, those things that need to go even darker. But you see how light her hair starts to look?
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
Do you establish from the beginning of the painting where the light is going to come from, or does it really matter to you?
Doesn't matter. It's whatever's dry and I can work on.
Yeah.
Or where I think I need something. And again, these will not end up being the same value, the shirt and the pants, but just so that you start to see some of this happen, I'm just putting the pants on so that you get an idea of where this painting's going. And remember that all this different color that's underneath is going to show through. So even though I'm putting a very similar blue on top, the colors coming through will make the blues look different. It'll give it some color bounce. John, I'm sorry I didn't get any further and we're out of time, but I think people understand from what I have done where this painting is going, and
It's beautiful.
where this, I mean, you can start to see, but this has probably got another 2 hours work in it. And I wanted you to see parts of it. I knew I couldn't finish it. And yes, there's more stripes down her skirt. And yes, there's some folds of material here. And yes, he's going to have a logo on the back of his shirt. But can you already start to imagine that that's a white shirt and that this is a white jacket?
That's neat.
So I'm running out of steam. So John, I'm going to call this quits. I'll take a few questions and then I'm off.
So then, Linda, would you post it when you're complete, whenever that is, so we can see the final piece?
Yes, it
And-
won't be today. It might be tomorrow.
Oh, that's fine. It could be next week. So what Linda
Yes.
was saying, I so much agree with. These sessions are really about artists showing you different ways of looking at art. It's not necessarily finishing artwork. It's dialogue with the artist, learning about the artist and learning about their tips and techniques. And Linda, you've been was so appreciative of you being on, even with a very sore throat, and showing us your artwork.
Thank you, John. Enjoyed seeing and talking to you again.
Thank you,
Any
Linda.
questions? Any questions?
We have got one question that we ask most of our guests, and obviously you're not finished yet, but when do you know when you're finished?
Okay, I take a photo of it and I go to my computer and I open up 4 other photos that I know are finished, that I really like. And when I sit it next to it, I know if it stands up to the others or if it still needs more tweaking. That's the only way I can tell when I'm done, is to compare it to another one of my pieces.
That's a good way of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Haven't heard that one before.
No.
Yeah, I have a nice big screen on my computer. I don't know if you can see across to my office, and I have actually I have 6 of them up at one time, and then I can see them all together, and I know if the one doesn't cut it yet.
Right.
And the nice thing is, I'm sorry.
You have so much fun painting, and it's so different. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
From Mallorca. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye,
you,
everybody.
Linda.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take
Thank
care
you.
all.
Everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.